Yeah. So anyway,
Hello?
we hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi.
Hi.
Well, this must be the place. How great to be here.
We're happy to have you here. How are you doing today?
I'm having a fantastic day in lockdown, as so many days are.
That's the truest thing I've heard in
hmm
quite some time. Why don't you introduce yourself to anybody in the chat who
Sure.
might not recognize you?
My name is Dave Wilson. I'm a manager here at Walmart. No, that's a lie. I'm Mike Pollock. I'm an actor. I do stuff. I
Awesome.
also
Thank
may
you
have
for
just muted my. No, I
thank you
didn't
so
mute
much
it.
for
What
joining
button did I
us
accidentally
today.
lean on? Is this thing still on?
Yes, we hear you.
Did I press the button?
Yeah.
Oh,
Uh,
what does that button do?
So just a reminder to everybody in chat, if you have a question you would like to ask Mike Pollock, we will $10 and we will ask him. Of course, please be polite and respectful when you ask your said questions.
And
Or take your chances.
Yeah, I guess that's also true.
please only ask us questions that will make him leave this charity event. Thank you.
A very high threshold, so
Yeah.
best of luck.
So I guess I'll just ask, do you remember what the process of recording, like, do you remember like when you auditioned for Viva Piñata, the video game, or
Yeah,
I guess the TV show
TV
as
show
well?
was first, as far as we were concerned.
Oh.
The lovely and talented Eric Stewart, who knew me from stuff like Ultimate Muscle, and early episodes of Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh, knew me, liked me, wanted me to come audition, so of course I did. And they were looking for, he wanted me specifically for Langston Lickatoad, and he basically wanted me doing my own voice. I said, okay. And then the other option was Phil Silvers, which is a comedian from the 50s on TV, and Sergeant Bilko. And I remember at the time I kind of knew Phil Silvers and thought I had a Phil Silvers impression, but at the audition I forgot it. So basically, Langston Lickado was more me and less Phil Silvers. But if it was Phil Silvers, it would have been something more like this, and things would have been different. But in fact, it was just me. So there's that.
Yeah, related to that, a question that I was interested in was that yes, since the Four Kids TV show was, I assume, cast first, and then
Mhm.
you and about like two or so other of those actors ended up appearing in the game. Were you aware that you were going to be appearing in the game, or was it just a case of on one record day they were like, "Oh, by the way, now we're recording you're going to be in a video game"?
I knew it was part of a game. The whole show was based on the game, and then at some point, somebody said we're going to do a thing for a game, so they just booked me for a session for the game, and I did my little narrational Greek chorus type of commentary.
So I guess asking as someone who is not super familiar with the game, were you? I know that in the TV show, the pinatas talk more normally, but in the game they do more gibberish type talk. Were you asked to do any of the sort of gibberish speak for the?
Fortunately, no.
Fortunately, yeah, because I was going to ask, because I feel like that's a unique and difficult thing to try to act to do, because it's easy for somebody, if they're not trying to do a good job, to make up gibberish. Like I can go blah 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 and think that's fine, but I can't do that and expect it to be usable in a professional TV show or video game.
Yeah, some people have gibberish as a skill in their back pocket.
No
I have
way.
been, yeah. For example, if you go back again, we're talking the Phil Silvers era of TV. Sid Caesar, old time TV comedian, was famous for doing double talk bits where he would fake a language, so it would almost sound like Italian if you didn't speak Italian, but you listen to it, think, oh yeah, I guess that could be Italian. It's not at all. It's just the sounds. And I guess by today's standards, probably horribly offensive. But he made a whole career of that. I, on the other hand, have been striving to speak English since I was a toddler, and I much prefer to do it the right way.
That's interesting. I did not know that actors could have like a background or I guess a bullet point on the resume of gibberish. So
Yeah.
I guess that's how people become voice actors for The Sims. Are you familiar with
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I've had many auditions where there are no words, it's just evocative sounds. Like, oh, really? All right. I don't believe I've ever booked one of those, or if I have, it was so long ago that I've forgotten about it. It's not. That's much more challenging. That's almost as difficult as an audition that's 2 words. Tastes great. Eh, do you have
Yeah.
something else in that? Yeah, it tastes great. Uh, like, I don't know. So yeah,
Yeah.
more is
So, so
more
I'm
is more when it comes to what I do.
So I'm just curious. I know that you've voiced several Pokemon for the Pokemon anime, and they only ever say just their name. Are you given what does direction for Pokemon speak like even sound like? What would a director even tell you you're supposed to sound like if you were supposed to be voicing a Pokemon in or anything like that for that kind of scene?
Sometimes they'll suggest what the words would be if they were words, but otherwise, it's a question, it's a statement, it's a yell, it's
That makes
um
sense.
yeah,
Okay,
he's unsure. So okay, we'll make that work.
that's interesting. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, also connected to that, I was curious about, in kind of relation to the question I had before about the connection between the show and the game. Was it the standard 4Kids like direction team that directed you for the game, or was it like the Rare staff that directed you?
Great question. It was such a short session that I'd have to remember.
Hmm.
I would like to say it was Eric Stewart who was our normal director, but it may have not been. I believe it was one of the other 4Kids directors, but I don't remember specifically who it was. I don't think it was anyone from Rare, but there may have been somewhere on the line or listening in or sitting in the room.
Yeah, because I know there is in the game they have like the two set. There's like the couple characters that appeared in the show, but then they have their own cast of characters, which are they're all pretty much all like British and like like the actual like Rare crew voicing it themselves. So it's like I assume that it's probably like a combination between like the both sides.
Just a quick interruption. We do have a handful of new donations. We have a $5 anonymous donation. Thank you very much. We have a $15 donation from Daniel Granau. Thank you. And we have a $5 donation from Juan Delgado. Thank you very, very much.
Juan is asking a question, but
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you wanted to do another $5, we can then ask your question then. He did, however, want to have a Piñata named Promyth.
I get
So
that.
yeah. Um,
Stefan, would you like to name your next Piñata Prometh?
Yes, I will do that.
oh well, it's not really a question. It's just he's just saying something to. So he says, Mike, I've been a big fan of your Eggman performances ever since 4Kids Sonic Dub in 2008. Also, you have such amazing patience and self-control I've ever seen on your Twitter after what people ask you what to do. I get to see and hear more of you in the future, not only in Sonic, but in other big properties. The most recent example is that of the Diglish dub of Promare?
Yeah, Promare.
Promare with your fantastic performance as Deus Prometh.
Thank you so much.
So thank you. Yeah, so that's what I get for not fully reading the comment before I open my big mouth. So thank you so much for your donation, Juan. And Stefan, you're going to name a Piñata Promare, I believe, right?
Promyth.
Oh,
Prometh.
Prometh. Okay.
I'm gonna name the Foreheads Promyth because that like I think that's funny.
Oh, that's the Trigger anime. Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
I recognize what this one is even.
If you've not seen it, you should.
Yeah.
It's available on what are your favorite streaming service, I guess.
Whatever.
He was
Wherever
also
fine movies are found.
he was also in the dub for Weathering with You, which was by the same studio, and he was great in that too.
Cool. Juan, thanks for watching.
Is there any other recent stuff?
Recent donations? No, not yet, but we'll give people time to be able to do.
Oh, there's a new donation that just popped up. I see.
There's a new donation that just popped up. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, from Daniel Granau.
Okay.
From Daniel Granau. Oh, okay. That was his $15 donation. Sometimes that happens where the donation comment takes some extra time. Here's probably my last donation for the night. Could you put
Oh god.
$5
Stop.
to letting Mike Pollock name a pinata? Oh, okay. And as a question for Mike, do you have any enjoyable stories about meeting any voice actors or famous people that you are a fan of? Okay. So I guess we'll do the name first. So Mr. Pollock, would you want to give a name to any of these guys? Whatever you feel like.
Has Langston Lickatoad been taken? Or Langston?
Nope, not yet. I
Yes,
will. I
please.
will name.
So
name
you
the
will name a
Lickatoad
Lickatoad
Langston.
Langston?
Yep.
Awesome.
Please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So do you have any enjoyable stories about meeting voice actors or famous people that you were a fan of?
Yeah, back in my high school days when I was a radio guy primarily, but interested in cartoons and that sort of thing, and planning the roots of what this career would eventually be. I was on a radio quiz show on a local college station called The Game Show, where you would call in, ask the team a trivia question, and then they would turn the tide and ask you a trivia question. Or it worked in the opposite direction. I don't remember which came first, but you asked each other questions. It was fun. And I was part of that show when it was on a college radio station, and I was still in high school. And one of the weird inside jokes we had was called the Schmidt bit. It went back to one of the radio announcers at one of the stations. For some reason, said the odd phrase of John Schmidt. Jesus, you look like a Russian. Don't know quite the origin of that, but it became a thing. We loved it, and our goal was to find famous people we admired, to say the Schmidt bit. So I, as a high school kid with apparently too much free time, made some calls. This was way before the internet, but I was very resourceful with calling directory assistants on the phone. I got contact information for the entire living cast at that time of the Rocky and Bullwinkle show. So we spoke to Bill Scott, voice of Bullwinkle. We spoke to June Foray, voice of Rocky the Flying Squirrel, and Paul Frees, the voice of Boris Badnov. And they all did multiple characters. And I called them out of the blue as this pushy little, I guess, 15-year-old kid and said, "Hi, I'm on a radio show. Would you mind saying this bit for us?" And they did. It was horrible telephone quality recordings, but I got to speak to them. I was like, "Hi, big fan." I was not as gushy fanboy as I could have been, but it was a very cool thrill. But I was kind of focused on getting this job done. And I spoke to them. They were all really cool, except for Paul Frees, who was really old and doesn't sound very good. But apart from that, the other two were fantastic and swell and could not have been nicer. And thinking as the tables have now turned, if some high school kid called me out of the blue and said, "Could you have Dr. Adnan say this bit?" I would probably say, "No." So, of course, again, pre-internet days, this is not a problem. But these days, who knows whatever I say could end up. But yeah, that was really cool. The other really cool person, and this is completely beyond geeky, the lady that would give the recorded time messages when you would call the phone number to get the time, which this is how old we are. This used to be a thing. We called her. Nice lady named Jane Barbie. And we chopped her up into a Schmidt bit where it starts with her giving the time from her regular recorded voice, and then she goes into the Schmidt bit. It's like, this is just so stupid. And we loved it.
Wait, is that Piñata a three-headed snake with a tail head on the tail?
No, it's a four-headed snake.
It's a four-headed snake with the. Man, this game's weird.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, those are amazing stories. Yeah, just the fact like those guys, like especially the Rocky and Bullwinkle guys, those are like legends in the voice acting field.
Yeah, and they were so cool. And I had, I guess, the opportunity to meet June Foray when she was much older, and I knew someone who knew her, and I probably could have been a little pushier and gotten a little face-to-face time with her. But I had my memories from the '80s, and those were good enough. So yeah, good times.
Any other new questions?
New questions? No, not just yet. So I am checking those. So thank you everybody so much for watching. I also want to just remind everybody that if you are interested in donating, not just to ask Mike Pollock a question, but also to help support direct action for farm workers. They're doing a lot of good work helping out farm workers in northern California. I almost did it again, but I didn't this time. I'm proud of myself. They're helping support farm workers in Northern California who have been hit really hard by both the wildfires earlier this year, as well as just COVID in general and the state of the world at the moment. They're doing a lot of good work. Especially considering issues with immigration and other things like that. So if you have anything that you could spare, please, if you can, donate below. If you don't have anything to spare, that's still all right too. We're really happy to have you here. Or if at all possible, send out a tweet, retweet one of the things on the charity room Twitter, or send it to somebody maybe, and that also helps out just as much. So thank you everybody so much for supporting the event, and we're hoping you're enjoying it. Yeah.
There is a kind of related question that I want to ask, is that basically due to like how's been like both auditioning and recording for you been like since quarantine and lockdown and like recording from home? Like how is like finding jobs and like your recording, like how is that differed from like the process of like doing it in person?
Sure. It's a spectrum, and the spectrum has shifted. There was a lot of at-home auditioning in recent years, and my home setup grew at a fairly snail's pace. But for a while, I was making do with a fine Blue Yeti USB microphone, and enough people didn't complain that I could get away with that. When lockdown happened, a couple of folks said the Yeti USB is nice, but we need to do a little fancier USB action with an interface and XLR microphones and stuff to make this other fancy technology work.
Huh.
So I upgraded. Actually, had a real broadcast quality Electro Voice RE20 microphone from my old radio days that I had always wanted, and had one for about 10 years. I didn't have the right setup to make it work, so it sounded not so great, but eventually added the interface and was able to use the RE20 for a while. And I'm now using an Audio Technica mic because it's on loan from one of my studio friends, and it's a little smaller for traveling back and forth, so I can take it around with me when we go places. But the home studio still, if you look at it, it may not be much to look at, but there's enough foam to make it sound good as far as no echoes. But it's still, my home space is a kind of a big room. It's a little noisy if you listen carefully, but again, no one's complained because I guess their standards may not be so high right now.
I thought I've seen your home space, your home recording space before, and I thought it was like a little booth type.
There's
thing.
two, because we have our lovely vacation home, which has a real live walk-in closet, which works well because there's already clothes and blankets and stuff in it. But as far as the primary home, I'm up in the attic, which is an A-frame space. So I'd want to get a whisper room, but you really can't get a rectangular whisper room in an A-frame angled space. The geometry doesn't quite work. So at some point, will probably get studio bricks or something that I could build modularly. But otherwise, there's foam on the walls, and as long as the area firehouse doesn't have their engines running by, or the nearby hospital doesn't have ambulances zipping back and forth, or the airport not far away doesn't have planes landing, or the rescue dogs next door aren't barking, it's okay.
Oh, geez.
And so now all the auditions are almost exclusively from home, and most of the regular work is from home. There's all sorts of remote technology with names like Source Connect and Clean Feed and Session Link Pro and all sorts of stuff that let you communicate in real time, high quality audio over the internet, sometimes with synchronized video that you can watch on a separate screen. And I've done lots of dubs that way. Sometimes folks who don't have the technology will just send video files and say, here, play this at the same time, and we'll record you and sync it up on our end, which works. It's not a bad feature. And then every once in a while, a couple of places say, we have to do this in town. The client is really a real stickler about the audio quality for everyone, or it's sort of semi-motion capture, facial capture. We've got to film your face while you're doing the dialogue. Oh, there's so many protocols. There's masks and gloves and sanitation and ventilation, and the room is down for 15 minutes to an hour between people.
Oh, well,
And
I would have to imagine, because voice acting, like, you can't really make it sound good if you have a mask on while you're
yeah,
in the booth, and so germs are flying all over the place. I would.
Yeah,
I
when
would
without a
agree.
mask, we make the droplets. So our business is based in droplets. So yeah, there's a lot of wiping and sanitizing, and it's nerve-wracking because also I travel in the bus, so there's the bus ride with all the people. That's fine, and then the subway, but we get it done. So far, so good. I've had about 4 or 5 in-town sessions, nerve-wracking, but quite doable.
It bugs me the most about how much of a stickler people are for the quality of the raw recording is that it's always going to be accompanied with some type of outdoor foley or music in the background, and it's like
Yeah, there's sound design.
you're not gonna hear all that.
Yeah, and you can tidy up room noise and stuff.
You
There's
can.
noise elimination.
I
I
do it all
used
the
to do that.
time.
Yeah, I used to do that on my auditions, but then people said, "No, send us what you got, and then give us whatever we can clean it up ourselves."
Like
So yeah,
I can hear room tone in movie trailers. You can hear like that cut, and I'm like, they didn't get rid of the room tone in the trailer. What?
Wait,
yeah,
But
really?
depending on the quality of the engineer, if they notice. I mean, one thing I've noticed for many years, especially as I'm aging, the magic of mouth noises, the various saliva bubbles that pop in your
yes,
mouth,
oh, that's my
and
biggest gripe with NPR. There's, but go
and
on.
I will clean most of those up even for an audition. But sometimes if I'm pressed for
Wow.
time, here you go. This is going to sound like I'm playing dice in the background, but there you go. That's how we are.
So I'm just curious. If you're doing a like not an audition but an actual role at home, how like does the psychological space or getting into character, does that change? Is that process for you different if you're doing it at home? Because just speaking personally, I find that I'm in a very different headspace if I'm doing something in my house versus where I'm normally used to doing it out of the house, which has made doing things that I'm normally used to doing not at home, not more difficult, but definitely it feels weird to me. Is that, am I just crazy, or is that something that as a voice as a voice actor you go through as well?
Well, having been as Mr. Middle Age now, and having grown up working at places, you go to work, you go to a job, you go to a place, an office, a studio, or something. And for that, it was a great threshold of okay, now I'm at home. Hey, now I'm at work. Now I'm work guy. I'm in my workspace now. Um, Having done lots of stuff at home, I was used to working from home. And the biggest challenge is getting the family to leave me alone while I'm working. Um, Dad, reboot the router. I'm working now. As long as folks leave me alone, and if I'm live with a client in real time, I've got a light that goes on that says recording outside the door. Nobody looks at it, but still, most of the time, people leave me alone, and that's okay. Yeah, I've gotten used to it. I'm skilled enough at what I do that I can just turn it on and off at a moment's notice, just ruining the illusion. But yeah, it's all pretend. It's just okay. We're pretending now. Cool. I'm in character.
No,
Awesome.
that's really important to have because like when you can't separate work and life, that can sometimes become a little psychologically stressful. So that's good
Yeah.
that you can separate that.
The biggest challenge is the self-engineering. Fortunately, I came from radio, so I'm used to working Cabo, the radio station, running the board. But even so, I would like to focus on the script and possibly the screen if I'm working to flap doing a dub. But then I also have to watch the meters and make sure I'm not going into the red, and make sure that my source connector, whatever else I'm using, is still connected, and stuff like that. So it's kind of a little extra nerve-wracking.
Uh, Ted, we have another donation. Would you like to read that
We have
out?
another donation. Oh, okay. Let me uh can you read it, because it's not coming up on my computer just yet.
You got the one from Daniel Gronow,
Grow
right?
now. Yes, I did.
Um, so everybody, I was joking. We don't have a new donation.
This is an outrage.
Wow.
Please,
Waiting.
please
Oh wait,
laugh.
no, it looks like we've got a new donation. We've got $20 from Tora. No, I'm gonna shoot a shot in the dark and say that that's their name. I'm so sorry if that's wrong. There's no comment just yet. I'll keep on checking it to see if one pops up, because it does sometimes take a little bit of time for that to happen. But thank you so much for your donation.
I have another question about the process of recording. Is that, do you find that when you're working with like a certain director, when you're frequently working with certain directors or certain studios, do you find like that you're able to see like how like, oh, these directors usually want this kind of performance, or I know how, like, I know what these guys are gonna want out of me, or is it like do they all kind of have like a very similar approach of like, oh, I just kind of do like this in every single type of recording that I do?
It varies because some people are better directors than others. Some people know how to work with actors. Some people have never worked with actors. Some people like to um, be a little domineering with their actors. So I'm used to the actors, to the directors that I've worked with, and I know, oh, this guy's also an actor. He knows how to talk. He will know how to get exactly the performance he wants from me. The other one, um, other ones may not care, and if you're working with an actor, it's best to let the actor do what he thinks is best first, then give notes, and the actor will make an adjustment, and then you proceed and you find something you like.
Yeah.
Some people don't do that well. They'll either not give you a chance at all. One guy I worked with only once, fortunately, was completely line reads and nothing else. His approach was, I'm going to read the line for you. You're going to say it exactly the way I did. And I thought, you can't possibly mean that. So I put a little of my own spin on it. Said, no. I read it this way. You're going to read it this way. Ah, I see. So basically, you want to play all the parts, but you can't because it won't sound good. I'll turn off my brain, be a parrot, and let's get this over with.
Oh man.
Others will at least give me, there's one in particular who shall go nameless at this moment, but he will at least give me a chance or two before I say, no, do it this way. All right. Done. Great. Moving on.
Wow.
But,
Okay.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it takes all kinds. And yeah, I guess after I learned their approaches, and I know who I can goof around with more than others, who I can have more fun. Only once that I recall in recent memory did a commercial client say, don't have so much fun, please. All right. So it's never a dull moment.
Just curious, is anything that you've worked on since quarantine and lockdown started, has any of that like come out and is available for us to watch, or is that, or are we still waiting on any of those kinds of things as far as you know?
Lots of stuff. What has just been released? Oh, I have to look back at tweets. Hang on. Put me on the spot. I know new episodes of Caillou are happening, and we've done some of those at home. Of course, it's hard to tell because some we did in studio, but the ones that we've done at home are in progress. I'm going to do an email search because I think I remember the name of this project. It was, oh, you know what? I can look by the client. Searching emails.
This is all very fascinating stuff.
Thank you very much.
I guess I'm surprised that a lot has happened, because I guess with I'm not super educated, but I figured there would be a slower turnaround for these
No, lead
sort of
times
things.
can vary depending on what the project is. Akudama Drive, that was just released, and it was just tweeted about, and I played a police chief in that. But that was recorded just a couple weeks back, and it was turned around instantly.
Wow.
An episode of Pokemon that I was in, we recorded at home, and I believe that's already aired. If it hasn't, I'll be in trouble. But no, I believe it has. And yeah, so lots of stuff. Yeah, stuff trickles out at all sorts of speeds. You know what I can point to, and I should have thought of this before, the IHOP commercials that I've done. The last batch of them last couple batches have been recorded at home.
Wow.
And
So
the IHOP YouTube channel.
So Tora No did have a question with their donation. Simple question, Mike. Top 3 favorite foods.
Sure. Ice cream, coffee preferably, or mocha chip, or something coffee with some good stuff. Barbecue, like ribs. Currently, the McRib is out, so that counts, and you have to gorge on the McRib when it comes around. And third one. What else is there in life? Hang on. Good chocolate's good. Sure, I'll go with that. No, I have a second one. Okay, here's my weird ethnic choice. Beef tongue sandwiches on rye bread with mustard. Sounds gross, tastes great.
Tongue's good. I had tongue in Japan. It's awesome.
Sure. Well, yeah. Also, yeah, barbecued tongue. You can get Korean barbecue with beef tongue. Can be prepared in a variety of ways, but a simple boiled tongue sandwich, very nice.
So we just a brief comment. We have a message in chat. Hey everybody, this is Carla, volunteer from Direct Action for Farm Workers. Just wanted to give you all a big thank you for hosting this event and choosing our organization to fundraiser for. It has been an incredible turnout so far. Thank you to everyone who has donated, and best of luck to all the gamers. Clap. I think that's a controller emoji, and my screen is too small to see what the last emoji is.
The last emoji is a joystick.
Oh, it's a joystick. Okay, because it looks like a
Yay.
thumbtack with my screen. But thank you so much. We're really happy to be working with you, and we're glad that the turnout has been so good so far, and that everybody has been having a good time. So thank you so much for stopping by and supporting us.
Yeah, thank you for stopping by.
Yes, thank you.
Was there something you were just about to say, Ted? Before that?
No, I just wanted to make sure that that we acknowledged our charity while they were stopping by.
Yeah.
And who was it from the charity?
Carla.
Carla. Okay, I never got to meet Carla.
Who did you work with when you were working with the charity, Olivia?
Claudia?
Claudia. All of my conversations were with her.
Okay. Well, still,
Yeah.
I think it's great that they've been direct and happy to work with us, because we've done a number of these, and sometimes some charities will be very helpful, and sometimes they won't answer your emails. So, you know.
Not very charitable of them. Thank you.
Here's another question I got, because you mentioned that one of your recent stuff you did was working on Caillou, and I know with that it's like you play like, it feels like pretty much all of the male characters you play in that. So I wonder like how just that experience of being able to just kind of play around with your voice and being like 10 over 10 different people all at once, how do you overall enjoy that experience of being able to play around with experimenting essentially with your type of performances all in one project?
Sure. As I love to say, my versatility is highly underrated. Lots of people know me for one character, maybe 2 or 3 characters, but I do a whole bunch of other stuff that you may not necessarily hear. Now, for the Caillou stuff, somebody put together a highlight reel of all the various incidental characters back to back. You're not supposed to hear them that way, really.
Yeah.
The variety kind of dissipates at some point. But yeah, just in general, since we record 10 episodes at a time, okay, I'm this incidental character, hot dog vendor, great. He sounds like this. I guess he sounded like the ice cream vendor from 2 sessions ago, but we don't remember that, and that's okay. But yeah, I am an actor. I'm a voice guy. I like doing wacky voices. There are voices that you may not necessarily hear, but for example, if you watch Sonic Boom, the staggeringly popular cartoon that we had, I not only played Dr. Eggman, but I played the mayor, which sounded like this, the voice based on Ed Wynn, the old school comedian. And I also played Fastidious Beaver, who was the librarian, who sounded very much like a droopy dog. So you might not expect those voices to come out of my head, but they do.
And
Yeah.
and like even in Sonic X, you played 2 or 3. You weren't just Eggman. You played 2 or 3 other people too. So
Maid, which surprises the heck out of a lot of people.
that I remember the first time I heard that you were El the Maid, my mind blew, because I was like, wait, what?
Casting made me laugh.
Yeah.
Every-
I just so in a show where you are voicing 2 characters at the same time, if those 2 characters ever interact, how do they go about recording the scene? Because I know typically in a lot of animation systems, the characters are actors record separately. So in most of the time, you're not given another actor to bounce off of. So, what is the process of bouncing off of yourself sounding
It,
like? Or do you just like record character A and then character B, and it's not treated like a conversation at all
it
in terms
can
of
go
recording?
either way. At 4 Kids, they tended to do one character at a time. So Eggman and Ella had a scene, but I would do all the Eggman lines and then come back and do Ella. Most dubs tend to be that way. But if we're doing prelay, like for a game, Sonic Generations, Sonic Generations you can't really count. I played modern and classic Dr. Eggman, and they had a scene together. It was the same voice, so just me reading down the page, talking to myself. But in Sonic Boom, when the 2 characters or 3 characters I played had scenes together, they did it live. There wasn't even a choice.
Oh
So
wow.
you're playing both, and you're gonna play one after the other. I said, okay, hope this works. Surprisingly, it did, and I was able to do most of those. I think in just one take.
Wow. That's impressive.
Dang it.
I know it's Sonic Boom. I don't know like how much of the show, but I know like a decent amount of the show was like recorded like with you rather than with everybody individually. It was recorded like together in one room. So I wondered like how did you like feel like the experience of being able to bounce off everybody in the room versus your solo performances?
That was a weird hybrid experience because most of the time, except when we were doing the initial workshopping of it and the first episode record and a couple of special occasions when they were getting some behind the scenes video, and they flew me out to LA. The rest of the time, I was in New York listening on headphones, much like this. And the studio would record me locally and then send a giant file with my stuff. But we would record in real time, just like we're talking here on headsets, and we would act against each other, and they piece it all together later, and it sounded just like we're in the same room. But yeah, performing live, having come from the world of stage, it's like that, and the opportunity to play with actors and rather than have to guess how someone's going to deliver a line, hearing how they actually deliver a line and be able to respond in kind makes for some magical moments. There was a character that Wally Wingert played. He played a commandeering general type character, and he used the old school pronunciation of the word robot, which in the 50s apparently was robot. And so he did that as a character choice. And at one point, it was scripted for me. It wasn't scripted in any particular way for either of us, but for one line, Eggman responds, and I thought it would be funny to echo his pronunciation. So the end of the line ended up being, "So you want to do this with your robot?" And that got a laugh from the producer, and they kept it in. So
Nice.
thank you very much.
So you mentioned doing stage. I know that stage stuff is probably not an option currently, considering the state of the world right now. But is that something you would want to do more of in the future, or do you like sticking with voice acting? Are you happy with that?
There's a question, a difference between want and want.
That's
Yes, I would like to, but one thing I've learned from doing voiceover is it's a lot more efficient. I can bang out 2 or 3 gigs and a handful of characters in a day, as opposed to, okay, we're going to rehearse this show for 2 months, and then you can perform. And that's pretty much all you do. It's like, this is nice, but it's a little boring. My attention span, especially as I age, gets shorter. So I love the ability to just, hi, I'm here for 10 minutes. What do you need me to do? Great, there, I've done it. Bye. Got to do something else. If somebody desperately wanted me for stage or on camera or anything else, sure, I'd consider it and most likely say yes. But the need to be on stage is somewhat diminished. Now, I know that there's a lot of overlap in the voiceover world and Broadway people among our New York family. And that's great. I'd like to be one of those guys one of those days. But again, it's a heck of a commitment. Broadway is days and days of rehearsal, and then your nights are lost most nights from like 6 o'clock to midnight because you're on stage. So that's quite a commitment.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, so it would be nice. I met my wife doing stage, and I'm quite comfortable on stage. But the last stage work I did was got to be about 10 years ago, a local community theater production, only because I wanted to check out what our town's community theater was like. And it was fun, but it's like, yeah, okay, enough of that for now.
As someone who did some community theater for a little bit, I can understand why you might feel that way.
Yeah, it also gets exhausting.
Yes.
My brother-in-law, before he passed away far too soon, was in the original cast of Phantom of the Opera for some 20 years,
Huh.
and it was exhausting. He was a trooper and he persevered, but he was on stage 6 nights a week and twice on Wednesdays and twice on Saturdays. And they were dark on Sundays, and that was his life. He committed himself to a life upon the wicked stage, as they say. Did a fine job, but again, quite the commitment.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't even like, especially for a running show like Phantom of the Opera, or there's numerous other ones that I didn't really think that. Wow, you are basically doing nothing but that for, in some cases, months or years.
Yeah,
So,
and it's fantastic work. I mean, it's steady work, which is more than I can say for most of what I do. But again, it's the monotony. It's a wonderful thing to have the applause, but you're saying the same line for the 18,000th time, and you got to keep it fresh. Okay, good luck.
Qatherine or Olivia, did either of you have anything that you were interested in asking?
I mean, I'm just really happy to be hearing about it. Like, I don't know much about voice acting as an art, and I feel like I'm just learning a lot by hearing you guys ask really specific questions.
Really
Yeah,
specific.
hearing about it's a very different world from anything I'm involved in, so it's just interesting hearing about how it works.
And I think too, like, when Stefan told me that you were coming on to talk, he was saying you voiced Lynx and Lickatoad, but I didn't know that you also voiced a ton of other characters. So it's just nice knowing that, because I'm kind of going to go back and look at a bunch of things and kind of hear things out. So it's exciting.
I think you might also recognize he was the narrator of Pokemon for like a good like several years, so I think you might recognize his voice from there too.
Do you happen to know which seasons?
Yeah, Hohenly. Hang on, Adventure. I have to look. I'm checking Bulbapedia.
He's looking.
Advanced Generations, I think.
Yeah, Bulbapedia would.
Yeah, I'm looking up now.
The funny thing isn't that he's looking up Bulbapedia, is that he's not looking up his own website.
Well,
I don't have all those.
That might be my favorite thing Mike has ever said. I'm looking at Bulbapedia.
Only because it exists and I'm there, not necessarily by choice, but
I just somehow appreciate the fact that, like, I don't know, somehow I wouldn't have expected you to know Wikipedia.
You're right. Well, he would have
thanks
to.
to Google, and I found out. Oh, look at me! I'm in this. I was the narrator from AG 21 to 145 and M06 to 08. So I guess AG is Advanced Generations.
Advanced Generations, and M is
the movies.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, those many movies. And then all sorts of other major and minor parts in Pokemon for all those years. And also, I'm the narrator in the opening of Viva Piñata. Welcome to picturesque Piñata Island. That guy. And here's a fun story behind that. I was minding my own business. I think I still had my day job, office job at the time. I was hopping on the bus, ready to go home after a long day of work, and Eric Stewart called directly, which was odd for many reasons. And I said, "Hello? Hi, Mike, busy?" I was just about to board the bus, and I was literally in line to board the bus. I said, "Well, I was going to board the bus. Can you take a second and come down here and record something for us?" "Now? Okay, sure." And I got out of line and went down to 4 Kids, and we have to do this this narration for the opening theme. Do your British guy. Okay. Did the British guy. There we were. My kind of gig. Didn't have a gig until moments before I had the gig, and there it was. So, yeah, that was cool.
Sorry, but there's a clear plot hole. Why didn't you take the bus to 4 Kids?
I had to take a subway from the bus terminal. The bus goes home, but then subways go from bus terminal to 4 Kids.
So you say.
bus was going in a completely different direction. Had I gotten on that bus, I would have been home. And that has happened. There have been times where I have been halfway home on the bus and somebody called and said, "We need you now." I had to get off the bus, walk across the street, get on the bus going the other way, back into town. All right. Unfortunately, the cost of the extra bus fare was more than outweighed by the cost of the rate from the gig. So
Have you
still
been
a
ever?
profit was made.
I would
Have
hope.
you ever been
Mhm.
able to get the studio to cover your bus, your bus fare over there?
Not the bus fare. When I get flown out to LA, there are expenses, so meals are covered and ground transportation to the airport and
Ooh,
those things,
swanky.
and the flight, and flight and travel and all that stuff. So yeah, the company covers that. Thank you very much. It's a business trip. But yeah, otherwise commuting is commuting. They don't.
Is it challenging? Like I always picture LA as being sort of the epicenter for a lot of this stuff. Is it challenging living in New York?
It is. It's getting less so now, thanks to lockdown. You can be anywhere. A lot of the stuff we've done from home. The directors obviously aren't in my house. They're all over the country or sometimes all over the world. So yes, LA can now reach out to people all around the world, and which is good for me if I get those jobs. But it's bad because now there's 10 times as much competition. I'm competing against the world.
Mm.
But yeah, when having chosen to stay in New York because New York is home. My wife is not a fan of LA. I have roots here in New York. There's enough going on in New York to keep it interesting. And the LA stuff, even before pre-lockdown, I have had sessions where the director was remote in LA and I can still be in New York. So if the studio is willing to shell out for studio space, like with all the Sonic stuff, they have to rent 2 studios. They rent the LA studio. They rent a studio for me, which is awfully nice of them. And then I come in and record in New York. So it's possible. Yes, I would probably get a heck of a lot more animation work just in general if I was in LA. But of course, right now, stuff in LA isn't recording in LA. It's recording from people's homes in LA or anywhere. So that's working to my advantage. And I would like to keep that working to my advantage. Because, for example, here in the vacation home, I could at some point retire to the vacation home. It's 2.5 hours to Manhattan instead of half an hour from home. But if I'm retired here and I have my studio up and running in the lovely walk-in closet, I don't have to leave the house to go to work most times. I could take the early morning bus and go in, but I don't want to. I don't like getting up at 5:30 just to go to work. But
Okay, so I have to ask because I feel like this is something that everybody's done with lockdown. Have you what has the dress code been like recording at home / like cuz I've been wearing sweatpants and pajama pants every chance I get. So are you able to wear whatever the heck you want, or do people expect some sort of effort on apparel while you're recording at home?
they can't see me most of the time unless they're very seldom is a video hookup. So I could be in I could be in anything from sweats as normal to much less than sweats, depending on the conditions. Because they don't know, they don't care. I could be wearing an evening gown. They'd have no idea. And having gained 15 pounds during lockdown, I've not worn jeans, and I don't know that I could.
I just asked because my brother-in-law, he was looking for work during the lockdown, and when they were doing video calls, he got dressed up just because he figured that was what he was supposed to do. And one of the places he interviewed asked him, "Can we have you dress up? Can we have you stand up, please?" Because enough people had just put on the suit top and shirt and not put on pants for their job.
No, that's mean.
And so they wanted to make sure he wasn't interviewing in his underwear, which he thankfully wasn't. I'm proud of him for that.
What difference does it make?
I know.
Yeah.
It's like, why does it matter?
Yeah.
I'm not there. I don't know why they asked him to do that.
That's so silly.
Yeah,
I agree that it is silly.
There's no video component. There can be. Some directors insist on having video if they're doing Zoom, but otherwise we're on Zoom or Skype or something higher tech just to be able to see the video that they're sending us, the video of the cartoon that we're dubbing, or the script occasionally. But You don't have to see me. That's why a lot of voice talent don't bother having headshots, or if they had headshots, it's not on their website because that will destroy the image. If you're casting for a young character, but you happen to look really old, the headshot's going to distract you, and vice versa. So headshots have been optional for voice talent for years, as is any visual component.
Do you think that's changing with like social media? Because a lot of, like, it seems like a lot of VAs have a very active presence on Twitter. And obviously on Twitter, a lot of people tend to put pictures as their profile photo.
Yeah, but that again may not be a wise. Yes, the world is changing, and I'm admittedly older school than I probably should be for my own good. But for example, my Twitter profile picture is the Twitter generic picture, souped up to look like the silhouette of Dr. Eggman because it's funny. It hasn't been my headshot for years, from the moment I thought of this brilliant visual joke and created it, and I leave it there. And that leads to many discussions of, well, people think they're talking to Dr. Eggman because of your picture. Really? It has my name. You can't separate a funny joke from a character because you're talking to a human. That's fine. That's a discussion for another time. But yeah, lots of people put their demos on YouTube now instead of SoundCloud, where mine is, and that is more of a distraction. At least the old school wisdom has been your demo should just be audio because the client is not distracted by the visuals. And yeah, people want to have their headshot out there kind of because they're in the look at me frame of mind. But again, that might be more trouble than it's worth. So my headshot's available. You can Google me and see many of pictures, but it's not front and center on my website. It's not front and center on most of my social media because it's not relevant.
That makes sense. It's interesting. It sounds like, yeah, it's sort of it sounds like you said, it's sort of a old school, like might be an older school way of thought, but it absolutely makes sense. As you said, like it could sort of destroy the illusion.
Yeah, and some people have cartoon versions of themselves as profile pictures, and I guess that's okay. But again, I'm going to say don't limit yourself to animation. There's a whole world of stuff that may be boring and less fun than animation, but it can often be more lucrative. So if your profile picture is animated you, that might say, well, all I do is cartoons. So if you've got something else, yeah, I can't help you. And that's not good. It's not good for business.
I am curious about because I know there are a lot of like the voice actors in that business that either also do or move on to directing themselves. So I wondered if there have been any projects that you have directed, or have you thought in the back of your head about possibly trying directing at some point?
In college, when I was majoring in television, radio, and film production, we had some video assignment thing, and we were a team, and the team had to rotate positions. And I directed one thing, and it was sort of like a TV technical director thing where I was calling shots and directing cameras on a stage somewhere remotely. I got good reviews for that. They said, "You're a really good director." I said, "Thank you. I'm not really interested in this, but I know how I would want to be directed, so I guess I directed people in the way that I'd want to be directed." And other than the various comedy bits and stuff that I've written and produced that have needed other people to be in them, and at that point, I do become a bit of a taskmaster and saying, that line would be funny if you read it like this, so here's a line rating. And then I feel weird. So yeah, I'm not dying to direct. I could, but it's not a craving that I have. Not only one of the reasons is because there's a whole lot of other stuff that the director has to do, a lot of research and organization and crap, and I'm much happier just walking in, looking and doing my thing and leaving.
I'm sure that you've worked with your fair share of directors who you thought you'd be like, well, if I was in your position, I would do this. So has it ever like encouraged you to be a director just so you wouldn't do the things that you don't like the other directors do?
No, I'm not that obsessed with that. There are people who, for whatever reason, have never directed anyone ever. This is their first directing thing, and I can make it easy for them. Not to worry. I know what I'm doing. I'll help you know that you know what I'm doing and what you're doing, and we'll get through this together. But directors who want to take on the vast scope of the project bless their heart. But my attention span, especially again of late, it's not that big, so I wouldn't be able to sit and do all the research and make notes on all the scripts and organize the talent and everything. It's like, no. I will occasionally butt in a group record and say, "Could you possibly try this line this way? It might be funnier." And then maybe I could play off of you. And then I think to myself, "Shut up, stay in your lane."
All right. Just to let everybody know, we are still offering some questions for Mike Pollock. If you were interested, if you hit the donate button down below and donate $10, you will be able to have your question read to Mike Pollock and see what he says. So just letting you know that that's still available. I'm not sure how much longer we have you. Thank you again for spending your evening with us.
Sure.
We really appreciate it. But
If you talk amongst yourself while I go get a drink of coffee, I can probably give you at least another half hour.
Coffee
Oh,
at
if I don't
10
have
p.m.?
coffee, I can't give you half an hour. But hang on, let me just run across and get coffee. So chat amongst yourselves. I'm going to mute and be right
Okay.
back. Thank you.
Awesome. So yeah, we have about 10:30 to, I guess, in that case. So if you have anything that you're dying to ask, feel free to send it. But if we get it if we get it after 10:30, we probably won't be able to ask him. And by probably, I mean definitely, because he'll be gone. So
Very quickly, because since we've been playing, I do want to have a level update. Qatherine, where are you at?
38.
I am 39.
Whoa,
Ooh.
Stefan!
Ooh.
Taking the lead.
Stefan pulling ahead.
Where are you at,
Okay.
Olivia?
Oh God, do I have to say it? I think I'm 30. So I'm about 9 levels behind. 8 levels.
So what you do is you take a crayon, right, and you scribble over it, and
Brian,
have it say like 604, and be like, "Yeah, I'm winning."
Yeah, basically.
I think it's
do
'cause
whatever Steve.
All right,
Sorry.
now we're all hydrated.
Now we're all hydrated.
Yay.
Awesome.
So where do I find more light?
What do you mean more light?
Moon on a stick. If I want to romance.
I
Oh,
think
my
that's in the beggar's place.
No, the moon. Yeah, I think the moon on a stick is one of the things you can buy.
So I guess I'm surprised we didn't ask this earlier, but I was just curious. Did you ever play any of Viva Piñata? Or
I'm famously not a gamer.
famously not a gamer? Okay.
Yes, I'm an actor, and a lot of people think, well, you have to play the games. No. I first auditioned to be Dr. Eggman, and he said, "So do you play the games?" No. They want to. Your best bet is to hire good actors. The actors might be gamers, but you're not obligated to be a fan. You'll become a fan from working on a project, but you don't want to hire fans. You want to hire actors first who might also be fans, but there's no obligation. So no, my interest in gaming died with the arcade game called Trivia Whiz, where although I knew trivia as a kid, Trivia Whiz had such a limited pool of questions that I eventually memorized all the answers and got really high scores.
Oh, like the scene in Groundhog Day where where he knows all the answers to Jeopardy, and so he can read them all off, and everybody applauds him.
Yeah, and this was just the category was entertainment, and then I played it enough that I went through all the entertainment categories, and I eventually was just memorizing answers. It's like, okay, this is being fun.
Do you ever have to get new versions of like Trivia Pursuit for the same reason? Or
my radio friends and I, my high school / college radio friends, the same folks that did the game show that I mentioned earlier, they when Trivial Pursuit first came out and it was promoted on a morning radio show, we called in and won a free copy of the game when it was just released, and we all got together and had a Trivial Pursuit night. But no, that also did not carry through. We did pub quizzes for a while, one of my game show cohorts and myself, until he got kicked out of a bar for smuggling in his own beer, and that was fun for a while. But no, the trivia interest as well is taking a back seat. Now it's lots of work, and work is my play.
Awesome. We do have a new donation, $20 from Even Luck. Thank you so much for your donation. Only one question for Mike. I was listening back to the CFA outtakes on your SoundCloud, and it made me wonder, what's the funniest goof you've ever made during recorded, or any funny one that comes to mind?
Great question. Let me see if I can narrow one down. That's family friendly.
You don't. I don't
We
know.
aren't family friendly.
We aren't family friendly, but if you want to be family friendly for yourself, then we.
Yeah, no. A lot of the ones that aren't family friendly are often disrespectful to the franchise. Sometimes something the character will play.
Mike wants new work, Ted.
Horrible direction. But I'm trying to think if anyone stands out. I have fun when I'm working, and if I know that a take is going horribly wrong, I will derail it in the funniest way possible. Very often I will burst into an Ethel Merman style show tune. I'm screwing up, and it just becomes that because stuff is being recorded. You can easily redo it. So if I can at least make the production team laugh, it's a win. But no, I can't. I don't have any specific memories, but it's all as kooky, wacky, crazy as you would imagine. And you can hear samples. One of the most boring corporate narrations I've ever done. The outtakes were so hysterical that the engineer said, "Can I compile those into an outtake reel for you?" So you bet. And it's on my SoundCloud at It's a Mic under the CFA outtakes. But yeah, I have more fun than you can possibly imagine doing what I do. And again, that's why only one session where somebody says, "Don't have so much fun." It's like, really? That's not going to make me feel good. But I said, okay, all right, yes, sir. Here we are.
Yeah, it's kind of like in a similar way how occasionally like random people may for example like call you out for like doing a specific job, like for like being in a quote unquote bad project, when it's like the whole thing of like, oh, you're doing this the thing that you want to do because you enjoy it, and it's like you don't really care about like you that shouldn't really be a worry for you. It's just like, oh, how like you doing like your job, and like what you want to do is what's most important.
I provide a service, and my service is speaking for things that can't speak for themselves. And as I have countered this argument many a time, and one of the best ways I can put it is my joy comes from performing, not from performing in things you think are good.
Yeah,
And
especially.
Yeah.
You finish. Sorry.
Thank you. When you call your plumber, sometimes your plumber installs hot tubs, sometimes he unclogs toilets. That's his job. Do you make fun of your plumber? He came to clean up my poopy toilet. That's what he does.
Yeah.
Please. Yeah. So they can't all be good, and I would like to think that I make things better by being a part of them. But yeah, just because you're not a fan of something doesn't mean it shouldn't have good actors making it as good as it can be. The rest of the production may not be great. The quality of the material may not be great. The finished production technically may not be great, but at least the acting is going to be good because it's got good actors in it.
Yeah, I've especially for something like a TV show, a video game, a movie, what have you. These are group. I feel like a lot of people forget that these are group projects. They take the work of many people on a team, and it's not just like you could have a certain people on that will might do a better job in their performance versus other people. You see this all the time in what a lot of people might call like bad movies or whatever, where one of the actors might know that the production they're doing isn't high art, but they're going to have fun with it anyway, and then that's often the most entertaining part of the piece is this actor knows what they're doing, and so they're giving it their all despite maybe it's they know that it's not the world's best movie or show or whatever. And then often that to me is one of the more I can't talk today, oh my god, I'm so sorry.
Right.
Admirable things that someone involved with something like that can often do.
What folks folks who don't do this professionally forget is acting is a freelance business. An actor's default state is unemployed. So the goal of an actor is to avoid being unemployed as often as possible. You never know where our next paycheck is coming from. So you audition for stuff all the time. You're not going to book most of the stuff you audition for. When you do book something, you're usually pretty happy about it. And you say, yes, please. I would like to eat food. Please give me money. Thank you very much. And so you're not picky necessarily about what you get. I do boring corporate narration, not because I'm such a fan of boring corporate narrations, but I'm good at making boring stuff sound interesting. And I'll read boring stuff, and even it's the most boring esoteric stuff, I'll learn something. Or if I'm doing a boring medical narration, spewing out symptoms and drug names, I'll just say, "Oh, I've heard of that before. I know what that condition is. Hey, look at me." And it's sure if someone's willing to hire me, that's a win. That's what this is all about.
So, I'm just curious. Since you read medical narration, does that mean that if I ever get run over by a bus, you now know what you need to do in order to keep me from dying?
Well, as I did a narration for an injectable medication for Dupuytren's contracture, but you don't want me administering the injection.
Okay.
I'll tell your doctor how to do it.
You know my doctor. Okay, well, I'll feel better feel better if you tell them how to do it. Then in that case,
Yeah, I've done quasi-military stuff for one of the local army bases, but you don't want me running the howitzer.
So I'm sure that it can be irritating being asked the same questions over and over and over and over and over. So besides saying, please look up questions that I've already answered, what is something that you would like for people to ask you more about that they have not been?
Yeah, one of the wonderful things of doing what I do is getting to do all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff. I would love for people to watch things that watch stuff below the waterline in the iceberg. Don't focus on all the popular stuff. Dig a little deeper and be surprised at how I can make a boring financial narration, if not interesting, listenable. I would be bored by the material I'm banging out. If you want to take a real challenge, I've narrated a couple of horribly boring audiobooks that got very bad reviews. I'm not proud of them. You're welcome to check them out. Search my name on Audible. But yeah, look at some of especially some of the low key stuff like Red Barbershop, which is currently running on Netflix and other places, and people seem to really like it. I don't have any major lead roles, but I'm a bunch of secondary character parts, like director Popcorn, who directs films and is a piece of popcorn, basically, with legs. And Old Bread, one of the head barbers who just retired. And this is it's a weird, goofy show, and people seem to really like it. But the folks who'd rather watch, Sonic, say, well, it's not Sonic, I don't want to watch it. Nah, you're lost. So yeah, dig deeper and search IMDb and behind the voice actors and stuff and see what else I've done. Dig it out and watch something that you've not watched before. Get out of your comfort zone. Surprise yourself.
Well, I guess on that note, is there anything that's cool that's coming out or has recently released that you would want to direct people to, something interesting that they might not have heard of yet, but that you're in and that you think that they might enjoy?
Didn't we ask Mike something similar to that earlier?
Did we? I'm sorry.
He listed off his most recent things that are coming out.
Most recent. Oh, you know what? I asked. It was because I asked if anything that he had done during quarantine had come out yet.
Well, there will be some surprising things because I have. There's the if you're a Sonic fan, you may be aware of the obscene parody rant, which many people seem to love, other people seem to get tired of. I have issues with it because I have been barraged by people saying, "Will you record a version of this?" Not realizing that that's a very quick way to get myself removed from a project. So,
Yeah.
no. But people then take that to mean I'm against profanity. And to clarify, I don't tend to use profanity in my normal speech because I have a fairly large vocabulary and I know many words. But if I'm presented with a script where the character is chock full of swears, I will throw out a string of F-bombs, the likes of which you may never have heard. And I've recently done a couple of video games where I'm a few foul-mouthed characters. So if you think I don't swear, or if you've never heard me swear as in character, you'll want to hear these characters effing up your S, as they were.
Oh boy.
Thank you. So when they're released, watch my Twitter and you'll hear about them.
Yay.
It's exciting. Let's see. Yeah, so just a quick reminder. We only have Mr. Pollock for another 20 or so minutes. So if you were interested in asking him a question, if you donate $10 on the link below, you can ask him basically whatever you want. It also supports Direct Action for Farm Workers. They're doing a lot of great work helping out farmers in Northern California who have been impacted by COVID and the recent wildfires. We currently, at the moment, have raised $1,438 of our $3,000 goal. We would really love to be able to. We would really love to be able. We really would love to be able to make as much as we could tonight. So thank you all for your support. Thank you all for sticking with us tonight. We really appreciate having you all here. Okay, and just a quick check. Who is currently winning at the moment? Is it still you, Stefan?
I am at 40, level 40 right now.
Oh, wow.
Give me a second to check. I'm still at level 38. Stefan is pulling ahead.
Oh,
wow.
Stefan, what did you do to pull yourself ahead?
I don't know. I think I just ended up getting a lot of the higher leveled pinatas, and then
So you cheated.
yes.
Yes. Okay. Glad we all know.
Let me just. Oh, go ahead.
Qatherine, for the right price, I'll switch your video feed with Stefan's. For the right amount of money, I'll switch the feeds, and you'll be the
right
winner.
Donation.
Okay. Here. I've got a question. Is that you have mentioned that you did a lot of stage work back then, so you do of course have like a lot of experience in like live action stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Has that also been like something that you've like been interested in, like if the right job comes in, like doing like, oh, I'll do this like live, if the right offer came, like doing like live action performances in like pretty much anything?
One thing I've learned, having been sent on a couple, is I'm not comfortable with on-camera auditions unless it's somebody who knows me and is expecting me and is actually actively wanting me to come in an audition. But any of the regular audition cattle call things with cue cards and prompters and stuff that I'm not quite comfortable with, I don't audition for those well. But if somebody knows me and saying, "Oh, we're doing this video project, we'd love to have you be a part of it, come in without a screen test or come to a screen test," I'd be thrilled with that, because it would be somebody who I would know, someone who would know me, and we would have a bit more of a relaxed atmosphere. Yeah, that would be really cool. In fact, I've had some of my friends who have done their own little independent video projects and have not asked me. And I was like, "Hey, I'm over here. Why didn't you come in? What's in that?" Fine. Yeah, I have done I did a local cable access show with one of my radio friends, a couple of episodes playing characters. That was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed that very much. It was actually quite funny, if I do say so myself. And I was on a promo for the local cable company. This was up in Syracuse, New York. If you were alive and in Syracuse in the 80s, you may remember me. I played a geeky guy on a beach surrounded by beautiful women. I don't remember the context of the spot other than that, but somebody knew me and liked me and brought me in for that without an audition, so that was cool. But yeah, it's the pursuing of on camera is a challenge. The pursuing of on stage auditioning was never a problem. It's the on-camera auditioning, which is not weird, mostly because there are some special skills involved, and I haven't trained for that. And you walk in, it's like, this is weird. There's a camera pointing at me, and I don't know what I'm doing. But it's fine.
I'm just curious, what since you've done some stage, what are some of the skills about doing stage work that don't necessarily translate to camera work, or maybe vice versa, for example? Because I
Sure.
think a lot of people might think, oh, if you can do something on a theater, you can do something in front of a camera. It's the same thing, but they're not.
It's the skills are adaptable, but one thing I tend to go broad with my performances, which works well for cartoons, works well on stage, because especially in most like school level stages, there are no microphones, so you've got to belt and get your voice to the back of the theater. These days there are microphones, which is a little more for the slackers of today's kids who are on stage. But in the old days, I'd work without a microphone and belt my way to the back of the house. But even so, your facial expressions have got to be a little bigger because folks in the back of the room have to have a general idea of whether you're smiling or frowning or whatever your face is doing. And if you're on stage the size of a marshmallow, your facial expressions may not read unless they're a little larger than normal. When you get into on camera, TV or film, the director, especially if you come from stage, will say, turn it down, hold it back, relax. You're over enunciating in your face. So you got to be a little more, usually more naturalistic, lower key, scaled back, talking quietly. I can do that, especially in voiceover where stuff can be not animated necessarily, but I do dramatic stuff that's intimately mic'd, and I will do tear-jerking dramatic roles as well. And those are, it's a different level of stuff, a different level of performance. So it's all adaptable, and presumably if you have a director with some empathy, they'll work you they'll work through that with you. Um, if it's an impatient director on a very tight budget, they will be impatient and kick you off the project because you're not doing what they want. Goodbye. But yeah, toning it down is one thing when you go from TV to film. Also, on stage, I would do a lot of musical comedy stuff. Not much call for that unless you're doing a musical comedy show like Glee or that type of thing. But even so, just the straight acting, it's similar but different. And the director is the director's job is to make sure you're doing what the director wants. So it's a very collaborative effort, but you do what the director says, or at least what you and the director agree is what the director wants.
Awesome. So we did get a new donation, $10 from Juan Ortiz. Thank you, Johnny. He says he can't hop in the voice chat, so he'll use the donation. He asks, "Hello, Mr. Pollock. Teach me the secret to being so patient on Twitter." Ted, leave his answer on my desk by Tuesday. You can't listen to
By Tuesday.
yourself. What is your being so patient on Twitter? I should also pay attention to this as well because I could use a lesson.
So, Mike, teach our friend Johnny how to be patient on Twitter.
Sure. One advantage to Twitter, which is a new social media platform I've just invented for people who can't speak either. For Twitter, is it's not really live. It's typing, and you actually can sit and think for a moment before you hit the send button. So the trick is to often take a moment and say, is that really what I want to say? Is that a little too harsh? Can that be taken as it's a little too harsh? And then once you're satisfied, no, that's just snarky enough. I'm a New Yorker. It's New York. It's snark. It's what we do. Then I can get away with that. I may rage in private, but even so, acting is a very useful skill for that. I can control my emotions, whether I want to or not, but I can contain my rage and bring it down to my default state is more a state of bemusement. It's more of really that's what we're doing. All right, fine. I will fight anger with snark, or compensate for anger with snark. But just take a moment, read what you're going to say. I think Twitter is employing artificial intelligence to do this for you, but actually, no, YouTube is doing that on YouTube comments. Your comment may be a little harsh. Maybe you'd want to rethink that. Just do that for yourself, and put yourself in a more zen, more bemused state of mind, where it's not getting angry is not going to benefit you, but stepping out of and being a more omniscient narrator in your own life and saying, well, isn't this a weird set of circumstances? Let's approach it this way.
I think one tip people could probably take away is don't send your tweets, save them, and then look at them the next day, and then decide if you still want to tweet it.
Yes and no. Sometimes time is of the essence, which is why that's one problem that everyone hates about Twitter, the lack of an edit button. So the typo goes out and people start liking it. You can't really take it back then because, well, people are already liking it. But I would like to somehow have been able to proofread something a little better. But yeah, if you're in a flame war or something that could be taken as a flame war, sometimes there are knee-jerk reactions where I have said things that have been misinterpreted, and it's only later that I get a chance to think back and say, oh wait, I realized that I was thinking of something from my own point of view that may not translate for the rest of the world. And then you have to say, no, I'm thinking like a broadcaster, and considering how profanity and racial slurs, while they're not equal, they're both things that the FCC would fine you for if you said them on the radio. So when I compared profanity and racial hatred, I'm not equating them as ideas. I'm equating them as things I'd get in trouble for saying. So then you have to explain, no, in my mind, I meant this. So then you have to do your best and try to make yourself understood, realizing that not everyone has your experience and can see the world from your point of view. So, which is why sometimes folks who don't get that I'm from New York don't get that I'm always snarky, because we are.
Oh, and Steven, I think Olivia's stream. Yeah, Olivia's stream.
I have been trying to fix it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure you knew.
Someone says on the chat that having an edit feature on Twitter, people would be able to abuse it, but there are countermeasures for abuse in these types of things, like having an edit history, for instance, that you could look up.
Absolutely.
I mean, I guess that's also true, but at the same time, I also know people are lazy, and so people won't take the time to look and see.
But you'll also have people saying, "Excuse me, but you didn't look at the edit history."
I know.
You'll have people doing that for you. So.
Or in Wikipedia, where you have to justify your edits. Edit for typo, edit for misinformation. So, yeah, if Twitter can have you make an edit and say, please verify why you're editing this. It was a typo.
I feel like that's the most common reason people want an edit function on Twitter is like, oh, I made a stupid typo.
The other thing is own your typos. I made one just yesterday to one of my favorite smartphone apps, and I meant to type, according to the change log, you said this, this, and this. And I typed it, and I got my answer back from the guy, and then I looked back and I wrote, according to the changeling is a mythical figure where fairies come and swap out your children for their evil twins. And my response to myself was, it autocorrected changelog to changeling, but I'm not sure I didn't mean changeling. So own it. Own your errors.
Well, as far as we know, maybe a fairy was the one who was saying that was how it was. Well, I guess we'll never know.
No. Maybe I'm not really me. Maybe I've been changeling.
Oh, man. We didn't get the real Mike Pollock. Oh,
this is an outrage. You've wasted 90 minutes. What can I say?
Stephen. Sorry, I'm only just looking at the stream. Now, I'm sure we'll get Olivia's stream up and working and just
Olivia, are you in here? Can you hear us?
Here.
Okay.
No, I'm not. I don't think many people will be watching mine, so it's okay.
Oh, that's fine. I just want to make sure that you were still here at least, like, so that your internet didn't completely crap out.
I'm focusing like extremely, like I'm just really.
No, it's fine.
So I guess since we only have a few minutes left, I guess just before we head off, I guess I want to again thank you, for dropping by. It really is great to have you on with us and to be able to ask questions about not just the game that and the show that you were able to work on, but other stuff as well. Um, I guess if people are interested in talking, in finding you, or like seeing what else you're up to, where are places that people can, check out your work at?
Sure. Um, if you go to your favorite streaming service and type in my name, you'll find stuff you didn't think you would. Um, so go to Netflix, type in Mike Pollock, and you'll come up with weird shows like Bread Barbershop. Um, Behind the voice actors is an excellent listing. It's got pictures of many of the characters I've done, and links to where you can compare the voices and then do some Googling and find out where to watch them. Um, my YouTube channel has a playlist of recent commercials and other non feature length series stuff. Some series stuff too, but all the weird little stuff that ends up on YouTube, I make a playlist out of it. So it's long and boring in some parts, but skip around and you'll find stuff that will surprise you. And new stuff that I can mention will show up on my Twitter feed if it's a Mike. There's also occasionally stuff on my SoundCloud when I do some of the old song parodies that I used to do professionally, and the mood still strikes me and I write something new. I'll post it there and share it on Twitter as well. And one thing I can tie into your campaign, which I was trying to verify who this guy is, but a local California politician who is originally a beef farmer and is probably going to benefit from your charitable donations. His name is Michael Eggman. Yeah, spelled Eggman, but I believe it's pronounced Eggman, and I believe he has most recently been elected to the Congress in California, the state representative. So do it for him.
That's crazy. I did not
Mhm.
know that.
Yeah, I was
The
trying to
universe is
figure
weird.
out how we were trying to figure out what he just won because I know he's run for a bunch of stuff, and I think he just won something, but I can't tell. But look him up. He looks like a nice guy.
Oh my goodness, the Michael Eggman.
Hmm. No relation, but still, he's a bee farmer in California.
My uncle. So there is a literal Uncle Eggman,
Yes, I suppose.
Uncle John Egg.
Hmm. And I don't know how aware he is of the uh, the sordid history of his name, such as it is, but if he wants to reach out and say hi, here I am.
Yeah, I find it. You'd think that an Eggman would have an egg farm and not a beef farm.
Yeah,
But,
well, you can have honey with your eggs, I guess.
true.
Or maybe he's just a big Beatles fan.
Yes, exactly. Then he'd be a walrus farmer. But you know, is that even?
Is that legal?
I don't
feel
think.
Yeah. All right. So thank you once again for stopping by with us. We very much appreciate having you
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. Keep giving. Give it for Eggman. Eggman. Sorry.
on. Eggman.
We would often joke in the recording of Sonic X. We would imagine the Dr. Eggman was like an orthodontist who pronounced his name as Dr. Eggman, and this is his wife, Susan. But no relation again, still, but we had our fun.
Mike,
Thank you so much. Best of luck with your fundraising efforts. Thanks for watching and listening.
always a
Thank
pleasure
you.
to have you, Mike.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for navigating me into the chat.
Of course. Do you know how to navigate out, or would you
Yo,
like us to
bet.
take you
I
out?
will, if not uninstalling the relevant software, I can at least disable it. I'm good at that. Want it to start up? No, I do not. Thank you very much.
All
I'll
right.
get that. Thank you so much.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
night. Thank you.
Have a great
Thank you
night.
very much.
Bye bye.
Awesome.
That was amazing.
That was amazing. Yes.